All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It's really nice to see so many people have shown up today. Um, I'm going to try to make this meeting go a little quicker, so bear with me. To get us started, I'd love to just kind of give everybody an agenda of what we're kind of going to go through. And if you look on the meeting invitation, there's a link to the agenda. And there's also a link to what the PowerPoint slides are as well. Sorry, people keep joining. So we're gonna just give you an update of what's been being talked about and what we've been working on since the last quarter when we met. I do have to let you know that since I sent out the agenda, that our ODOT special guests did let me know they weren't going to be able to make it today, but they promised to attend future meetings. So we will be able to talk to those folks at a later meeting. Give you an update on coordinated plan, committees, and TCC meetings for next year, hopefully. To get us going here, let's talk a little bit about, oops, going too far, some updates. ODOT did announce some of the 5310 and 5311 award winners for next year. And I am happy to say for 5310, both Triangular Processing and myself for the Mobility Management Grant were awarded again. 5311, Henry County Transportation Network was awarded again. So we're gonna run for another year, and that's super exciting. Something that I've been talking about with our ODOT connectors is right now we're in Region 4 for coordinated transportation plans. And I tried to do a Kim Lammer's version of a snip and paste, but this is what the region is. It goes all the way from Sandusky to Williams, Paulding. It's a fairly large region. And one of the things that when I was first hired, which I've been hired in November last year, was there was some uneasiness about being in the big Region 4, and would there be a way to kind of separate us so that the more rural counties could be together versus the more urban counties. So the ODOT folks did give me some paperwork on how to request a split. It does take a little bit of work in the sense that, county commissioners would have to vote for that, and it would have to, go through quite a few committees and things like that. So I am interested in hearing if anyone has like historical knowledge or thoughts on would it be good or bad to split. Here's some of the good reasons that we would split. If we did split the region, it could be like a Region 4 and we'd have an A and a B. This coordinated plan that we're working on right now would then become a regional coordinated plan, I think as we wanted it to be originally. And that means anyone who applies for our 5310 or 5311 awards would receive more points because there's like a rubric with points for applying for these grants. And I see that as a benefit, especially because as we finish this coordinated plan, I'm hoping that Defiance and Williams counties will be added on, and we could see some additional funding for those counties as well. So yeah, I'm not sure all the politics that would go on into splitting the region, but I do want to let you guys know that there is that option out there, and hopefully we'll get to more discussing. We'll discuss that a little more by our next meeting in December, and I'll have more knowledge on it, but it's an interesting perspective for the group to consider. Adam Wagner, I saw you on the call. I don't know if I could ask you to unmute, but we had a meeting with Defiance County, and one of the discussion points at that Defiance County meeting was, would there be a nonprofit that would be interested in applying for some transportation funds and looking into possibly being a public transit provider? We kind of leaned on K&P Medical and Keller to see if they would be interested in that. I know I've had a couple conversations with Aaron. Adam, do you have any updates that you'd be willing to share? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot.
No, Aaron just told me that the ball's in, we're waiting to hear back from the lawyer. Like I mean, you know about as much as I know. We're pushing for it, getting the ball rolling, but we sent it off to the lawyer and we're waiting to hear back from the lawyer.
It's super exciting that you guys are all willing to look into that. So what that would essentially mean is that Keller would have a nonprofit arm, and that nonprofit would then, in theory, be a public transportation provider for Defiance County. So that's really exciting to hear. All theoretical right now, which is what most of my work is, but it's nice to have that conversation happening. In Fulton County, actually next week, we're going to have a meeting. I've been meeting with the veterans and the senior center and a lot of really great, wonderful people. Next week, we're going to have a joint meeting with Fulton County with those entities again and Triangular Processing to kind of talk about, could we do more partnering with the 5310 funding, that's specialized transportation funding. If you've talked to me recently, you've heard me talk a lot about braiding funds, bringing in funding from this source, funding from this source, the grants from this ODOT, and how can we braid these things to make transportation more attainable and economical in the region. And so right now, Fulton County is working on looking at partnering for that 5310, which they already have through Triangular Processing, but growing and expanding that. And then Henry and Williams counties, very interesting. Last week had a Williams County meeting and Brad Booth from Henry County Transportation was there. We're discussing creating a regional system, which I believe was discussed prior to my arrival with Williams and Henry County. With that, they would form a merger of sorts and still apply for 5311 awards, but even ask for more funding with that award. And then Henry and Williams would then be working together in their public transit system. So that's a really fun and exciting opportunity for us. Just know that I've been saying this to a lot of people as well lately, that all of these are hypothetical. None of them are definitely going to happen. But my goal is to try to make any progress we can with conversations, and any little movement is a win for me. So I do appreciate all of you coming to the table and chatting about all of this. Any thoughts on any of this? Feel free to unmute yourself. And no.
I just have some questions, Kim.
Yeah.
So I wanted to understand. So I understand what's happening with the discussions with Henry and Williams, and also pretty clear. Help me understand what's happening then with Fulton County when you say that they're partnering for a 5310 funding. What is this like? I to talk to a layperson. Tell me, what will this look like for Fulton County?
Sure. So right now, our 5310 is Triangular Processing, and they partner with the Board of DD they braid funds in the sense that they're taking transportation waivers and providing transportation services for our individuals with disabilities in Fulton County. But 5310 is a fund that will it will fund transportation for seniors and for individuals with disabilities. So we could request additional resources, being money, funds from the ODOT to see if we could then help supplement some of the costs that either the senior center or the veteran services have for transportation. So what's really neat about Fulton County's senior center is it is a volunteer driver program. Very cool. And those volunteer drivers can be considered an in-kind donation and probably part of the match for that 5310. So if we did say, okay, we're going to enter into an agreement with Triangular Processing and the Senior Center, for example, and we're going to apply for 5310 funds together as a Fulton County entity, then they could apply for the funds and then make decisions on how they want to utilize that funds. It could be on paper only, where they just are receiving the funds from ODOT and reporting together as an entity, or they could try to work together and provide additional transportation to their target populations. Not sure which direction we're going to go with that, but it's an interesting conversation that both parties are coming to the table to at least talk about.
And so that would still, though, that transportation would still be limited to individuals with disability.
Or senior, or considered
or
seniors.
a senior.
Yeah. It's the
But in the
5311 that would be public transit for everyone.
okay, all right. Thank you.
Yep. And just to be clear, I think the hope is to someday get to that 5311. At least that's my hope. But right now, I think that's like the first step is, can we expand the services? And expanding the services is a win. And then eventually, if we get more and more confident in working together and expanding those services, could we, Fulton County, go to 5311? Hopefully, we'll see. Great question. Thank you, Tony. Anyone else? I saw Heidi yesterday at a resource fair at Northwest State Community College, and I do realize that I spout off 5310, 5311, these things pretty quickly, and it can be a little overwhelming. So feel free to slow me down. I'll try to explain it. Okay, so if you remember this image, when I first started and I said, okay, we're going to do this coordinated plan, I said it was going to be a year-long thing, and it has been. So here we are in September, and we have in January or July, sorry, in July we had public comments, and we talked about some goal setting. We came up with some goal setting. So September is really about approving the plan and moving on with it. I want to just kind of remind you of what those goal settings were. We talked about, did we want to have a consolidation, a cooperation? What did we want to do as far as our regional relationship? And I saw a vote. I think we had a vote that one meeting, and most people felt comfortable with a cooperation. And that meant that we're just going to make connections, informal agreements, and possibly share some resources across borders, county borders, to increase transportation in the region. So I have to say, I think we're already doing that to some degree, and I hope to just continue expanding that. Talk about using efficient use of resources, creating working committees, and identifying resource opportunities. And then this is a continuation of our last coordinated plan with at least Fulton County and Henry counties. Is continue education. People don't know what's already out there. And the more I can get out into the public space and kind of talk about what we have and what we don't have and what we need, I think it will help educate people and make people feel more comfortable on what's going on. So public comment period. Oh no, I'm sharing my screen. That's not helpful to you all. In the public comment period, we did not receive anyone who emailed me or contacted me with questions or comments. However, I did notice that there was 42 page views on our public comment page on the website. So I do believe it was getting out there. People were reading it to some extent. It is a large document, 50 some pages. So I find that to be a positive view, is that people did see it. No one really commented. It's pretty, I don't want to say vanilla, but it's pretty open-ended. We can kind of take this coordinated plan any direction we want to at this point. And so I'm very happy with how that comment period went. So what I am going to do next is have us vote on approving our goals and approving our coordinated plan. Well, how do we do that in a virtual setting? If you look at the agenda, and I'll send this out again after the meeting, is I created a survey monkey where each agency can have one vote and say, yes, we approve, no, we don't approve. But I was hoping before anyone gets click in and approving or not approving or abstaining, that I could ask any last final comments, questions, concerns, either about these goals or about the coordinated plan in general.
I have a question, Kim. This is Tony Long again at the Adams Board. I just want to back up a little bit. When we talked about splitting the region into and breaking away and having an A and a B, you kind of mentioned some of the positive aspects of making that move. What are some of the downsides of making that move?
So I don't know, but I'm hoping by putting it out there to you all, you can come forward and tell me, hey, there's a historical thing here. You're about to put your foot in it. I do know that I went to a meeting last week with TMACOG, And Lucas and Wood County are both creating their own coordinated plans. And they do have some transportation committees and things that they're working on that they said, but they told me at that meeting that TMACOG is separate from MVPO's region, which is Williams, Fulton, Henry, Defiance, and Paulding, as far as transportation. However, Fulton and Henry and some other specific agencies within the other counties are part of TMACOG when it comes to water and like clean drinking water and purification and things like that. So in my thought, someone's going to tell me I'm wrong, but that's okay. I'm okay with knowing that I'm wrong. My thought is if we split Region 4 into a Region 4A and a Region 4B for transportation, it's really not going to be a big deal because we're kind of already split that way as far as regional transportation authorities. But I do want to make sure that I'm talking to do this split. I would have to have all of the commissioners agree upon it and sign off on it. So I think I wrote that we were going to vote on it because I think I was a little naive thinking, oh, split, we'll just do it. As of this morning, I'm starting to think, well, maybe we shouldn't vote on it just yet. Maybe I should put it out there to the group and people can kind of tell me what our negative points to it.
I feel like that before we would make that kind of a decision, we definitely would need to have some more information, because one of the risks just off the top of my head is, well, how many lives do we represent when we go to ask for funds? Will that be hurting us? You know, I mean, I can see how breaking off, we're able to maybe better meet the needs of our population, our rural population, with the funds that we would receive. But would that hurt us in terms of grant competition if we're representing fewer lives, et cetera? That's just off the top of my head. I don't know. I would love to have us be able to have our own thing happening as long as we can remain competitive for the money so that we are able to, you know, meet some of the needs that we have. So that's just off the top of my head. I don't have anything to base it on except experience of you know, when you're meeting at the table, the more lives you represent, just like when you're dealing with insurance companies, et cetera, the better leverage you have. So I don't know, you have written those grants, you're more familiar with them. I'll tell you, I'm not super familiar with that funding. You throw it around very comfortably. So I don't know, will this impact us? Is that one of the things that they weight the funding on? I don't know. So I just wanted to put that out there. And maybe there's others on this call that have questions around that or information we'd need to have in front of us so that we could make an informed decision on that.
Okay, I love it. Kiera Branch and Todd Barstow unfortunately weren't able to make the phone call today. They're from ODOT, but they are hoping to make a future phone call. I think that they might be the ones that we can ask a lot of questions to with this regional split and what that would look like. Does anyone, but like as Tony alluded to, does anyone have any like historical knowledge or ideas of good or bad? No? Fair enough. I'm going to ask that question, Tony, to Kiera and see what she says about points and number of people, because I think that matters. Okay, well, I will, like I said, I will send out a survey monkey and ask that each agency have one vote and vote if they approve the goals and vote if they approve the coordinated plan. I am going to take out the splitting the region question because I just think it's too soon. We need more information on that. Okay, so like I said, in September, we need to look for creating some subcommittees. I think the more that we get together and talk, the more I start to see a little bit of movement. And I also start to see a little more of people understanding what I'm saying when it comes to public transit and rural public transit. So some subcommittees I was going to propose to this larger committee would be countywide committees. So I have been going around and meeting with counties and inviting people out and chatting with them. And I find it to be very helpful because you know your county best. and you know what's working, what's not working. So I'd like to propose that we have county meetings, and how often, I don't know. I would have to base that on the county participants to see how often they feel that's necessary. Providers, there's providers from all four counties that I don't know if they're actually talking about, how much insurance, what kind of training they're doing, drug testing. I saw that there was new drug testing forms for drivers a month or so ago. So those are all things I think that would be good to have a conversation on in subcommittee. Riders, what is it like for the people who are actually riding these transportation systems? What's good, what's bad, what's something that could maybe be improved upon? I have been working with Williams County Health Department in discussing active transportation. And I just really think that that is an opportunity that we could maybe come together with the other health departments, maybe some other agencies who are interested in active transportation. If you don't know what active transportation is, that's okay. It's essentially walking, biking, making sure that we have safe roadways for folks who need sidewalks. If I have a wheelchair or a walker, but I don't have a sidewalk or a reasonable way to get places, it's not as simple as we'll just walk. It's not that easy. I just was talking to a student from Northwest State this morning, and she bikes to Northwest State every day. I have no idea how she does that. I'm worried about her, honestly. So it's very interesting to hear about how some people are getting around with active transportation and making sure that we're setting up the infrastructure that they're safe and sound, and that's a possible thing. And then generally just having a steering committee. I do not know what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out as I go along. And so if I could have just a couple individuals who would be willing to help guide and steer and make suggestions, that would be really, really helpful. I think that's something that would be needed to make this a meaningful transportation endeavor. But those are my suggestions. Does anyone here have any suggestions, or maybe tell me to X one or add one? No? Okay. I'm gonna sit just for a second, just so people, sometimes it's hard to unmute. I think I heard someone. No.
I would just comment, Kim, that those all look like solid subcommittees. The issue is going to be filling those committees. It's going to be tough. I mean, even the people on this call, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're probably on a lot of committees. But however, that said, I would be willing to support that. I would have to get permission from Rob to add something to my plate. It's pretty full these days, but I would be interested, since we represent all four counties, I would be interested in participating in the steering committee if that would be helpful.
Oh, thank you, Tony. That is helpful.
But again, I need to get permission from Rob to do that, but I'll get back with you. All right. If he's a yes, I'm a yes.
Okay.
Yep.
If anyone on this call doesn't mind, if you want to volunteer for something, please let me know. Otherwise, I may send you an email and just say, hey, I think you would be great on this committee, and hopefully you can be supportive of that. And I started looking out into 2022 and just kind of talk about when our next meetings for these bigger, larger regional meetings would be. And I just kept it the same months, the second Wednesday of each month, I think I have. And I continued that rotation into 2022. I will send calendar invites, and I try to every quarter, I feel like I add more people. And so I'm trying to keep you all up to date, and hopefully I'm doing okay. Let me know if there's anyone that's not on these calls that you really think should be and would be helpful to them. And so with that, I don't have breakout groups. I don't have polls this quarter. I don't know how, I've gotten mixed results on if they've been successful or not successful. So I just kind of want to open it up to the group of like, what are some things that are going on in transportation in your worlds that you know about, or that things that you need and like to just throw out to the group? Do you have questions at all? Don't be scared. No?
Well, at the risk of being the only person that's talking, I just want to make more of a comment than I have a question. First, I appreciate all the efforts that you have made, and I feel like this has been an issue as long as I've been working in this community, which shockingly is over 30 years now. This has been a problem. Having transportation has been an issue. So I'm happy to see this being addressed in a formal manner. And I'm grateful to see the progress that's being made across our counties. Of course, in a dream world, I would love to see us have a regional 4-county public transportation network. That I just want to put voice to that. I feel like that would best serve our area. We have so many folks that move and live and work and receive care across county lines, that need does not stop at the county line. And if we could do that, I just feel like the quality of life, the quality of care, the reduction in need for crisis services. You know, if you have someone who can get to a job when they need to, can go see family members when they're in need of support and not have these things be constant obstacles, you're going to see then a reduced need for things like crisis assessments, et cetera. So I just want to put that out there, that I hope that in spite of the progress that's being made in between individual counties, that we don't lose sight of how wonderful it would be to have a 4-county regional transportation network.
I appreciate that comment. And I agree with you. So, yeah, I agree with you. To me, it's meeting people where they're at and seeing what kind of growth we can make from there. And maybe someday we could get there. We'll see. It's a good goal to have. Okay. Well, with that, frankly, Tony, thank you so much for talking. I appreciate you. And then with that, I'm done with my agenda.
This is Mike McCann. I'll just jump on with Tony. Tony, 2 things. I know you don't know me, but I will. You can just let Rob know that I said it was okay for you to volunteer to do whatever you want, and he'll accept that. I promise you.
I will let him know.
I think universally, everyone is in agreement. All the various agencies involved, including yours, Tony, our healthcare providers, our mental health care providers, everybody agrees that a countywide transportation program that could get people to where they need to go is an excellent idea. And it comes down to how can we efficiently fund this short-term and long-term with some assurance that the outside funding sources, whether it's the state or federal government, doesn't go away. And then local governments are stuck with the task of trying to continue these programs on into the future. Henry County has figured it out and done it for, I think, decades now, and kudos to them for doing that.
Mhm.
But I think that's where we're at, and that's what Kim is starting to work through. And I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. And I came in about 15 minutes late. I apologize.
That's okay. And Mayor McCann, just so you know, thanks to Mayor McCann, Adam Wagner from K&P Medical did let us know that K&P is still talking with their lawyers to talk about creating a nonprofit arm for Defiance there. So we're still in discussions on possibly creating a nonprofit for a public transit entity for Defiance County, which would be awesome. So thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I see your thumb up. Okay. With that, any other questions, comments? Okay. Well, I'll stay on the line for just a few minutes in case someone wants to talk one-on-one, but otherwise, thanks for coming. And hopefully by December, I will have more news on that we've passed a coordinated plan. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too.
thank you for all that you've done, Kim. I don't have anything else to add, but kudos to you for everything that you've done. So thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
You too.
Hey, Kim.
Kim, I
this is
just wanted
Angie.
to,
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Joy. Go ahead.
hi, Angie. I know, we're like, we should have just come to work together today. We're in all
I'm
these
telling
meetings
you,
together.
yeah.
Kim, I just wanted to introduce myself. I haven't met you yet. My name is Joy Ermy from Henry County. So, thank you. This was my first meeting, so I appreciated learning. Thank you.
No problem. It was the quickest meeting I've had, so you were in luck today.
That's okay, because my head's about to explode from everything going on here at the health department. So
I'm
I'm
sure.
happy to take the break. So,
Oh,
all
good.
right. Thanks so much, Kim. Bye-bye. Bye, Angie.
Hi, Joy. Hey, Kim. So I wanted to stick on for just a minute. So I'm kind of renewing my participation in this group. So I was kind of a silent participant. I apologize because I probably should have spoke up for the good of just some discussion. But I don't know if I have mentioned to you, or if maybe Deb Gherkin in the past had mentioned, that we do a needs assessment every 3 years with our consumers, our board, and community partners. And obviously, transportation is indicated on that needs assessment as a great need every time. So I'm not sure if you need additional supporting documentation as you're submitting applications and requests and studies, but that needs assessment certainly, is available to you. So let me know. It's on our website, but let me know if you would like a copy of that. And then the other thing I wanted to just mention, and I'm not sure, again, if it's been discussed in the past, but a great need for our services, especially, exclusively here in Defiance, in the county and in Richland Township, is there are no sidewalks going to the Path Center. And it's an extreme safety issue. And, again, I'm not even sure if it's part of what you're working on, but I just wanted to make sure that that need was recognized.
So that's exactly what the active transportation would be, is yes, if it's not safe. And the first time I ever met with Mike McCann, the mayor of Defiance, he mentioned the sidewalk issue down to the Path Center.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what he was saying, if he said there was funds or if it is in a queue or something like that, but I'll look into that, because that's a good. And the Path Center has a bike rental program, which is a great.
Yeah,
active
it hasn't really went anywhere. I'll tell you, it sounds great in theory, and we purchased a small fleet of bicycles last year, including a couple 3-wheeled ones for people that had some struggles with riding a 2-wheeler. And one, COVID hit, right? And the center was closed for most of the year. But even so, we're not seeing a great response to that. We could probably do a better job advertising it and letting people know. But at this point, we're kind of focusing on Path Center consumers and consumers that come through the emergency service offices. And we just have not seen it utilized much at all. Even the clients that are staying at the Path Center for emergency shelter for 45 to 60 days, when they're offered a bicycle, they turn it down because they'd rather walk. I don't know if it's, just the age group that we're working with where they just don't feel safe, or if it's just a stigma issue that they don't want to be seen riding a bicycle.
Oh, interesting.
Which has come up. I mean, it's a different population than when I was doing direct services and working with the clients. It was here's a bike, get on it and go do your business. And now they'll find other ways to do that other than that. So just some perspective.
That is a good perspective, because it's the only bike share program we have in the region that I know of.
Yeah.
And to know that it's not really taking off, maybe it's not something I should push, really.
Or it's something that we need to revisit. And, maybe, when you're talking with the steering committees, if there's, ways that they can support, ideas on how we could better implement it.
Right.
I'm going to revisit it with the PATH program manager myself too, just to kind of get a little bit more feedback on how that's going.
Okay, yeah.
Really should be more utilized.
So I lived in Defiance 10 years ago or something.
Yeah,
And I had this really great idea that I was going to buy a bike and ride my bike to work every day. And it took one day for me to give up on that because I was coming down Clinton and I came across the bridge and I had to go up that hill by ARPS,
yeah.
But now that I've become a mobility manager, I've learned about, have you ever heard of like e-bikes?
Hmm.
You have? I've never
Yeah,
heard of it.
in the cities, is that what you're talking about?
No, it's like it's a bike that you propel it with your
Oh,
feet, and then it's
yeah.
supposed to like be partly battery powered, maybe.
I've seen people riding those in Toledo.
Yeah. And then
It's
it's
almost
supposed
like
to,
a little motor scooter, but yeah, they pedal for a while and then they coast for a while. Yeah.
yeah. And so I thought that was a really neat idea, especially when I was thinking of like, I know this isn't Defiance necessarily, but we have the, what's it called? The Cannonball Trail between Williams and Fulton. And it's like, well, no, you're not going to ride your bike between counties. I don't think you would. Although I'm talked to someone today who says they
Yeah.
do. Would those e-bikes be something that would make that more obtainable? Of course, it doesn't make it more obtainable in the winter, but I don't know.
I think it's a
Yeah.
safety issue. But anyway, like I said, I should have joined on, and I promise that in future meetings, I will maybe become more active, but with our needs assessment and with our strategic plan, transportation is something that community action obviously sees as a priority and is willing to support. It's just been such a big project that,
Hey, I cited, now that you're saying that, I cited your needs assessment in my
good,
coordinated plan.
good,
Yeah.
very good.
I
All
think
right, lady.
Amy McMaster gave me an insight to that.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate you. I'm gonna log off for now, and if there's anything that we can do to help, let us know.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, Penny. Did you need anything? Okay. Stop sharing.